This is why people began to remove the rhino horns. Hello lovely YouTube family! Welcome back to Double OB. In today's video, we will talk about why people began to remove the rhino horns. But before we start, I would want you to hit that red subscribe button so that you never miss out on any of our videos. Here we begin. In April 2013, several masked men robbed the National Museum of Ireland. They attacked the guards and escaped with the haul, not with art or jewelry, but 4 rhino heads, more precisely their horns. What kind of weird robbery is that? Why would anyone steal horns if there are more valuable things in the museum? Oh, you have no idea what kind of money we're talking about. To understand this, let's go to the African continent. Female northern white rhinos, Majin and Fatu, used to have many siblings who lived in several countries in East and Central Africa. But after the waves of poaching in 1970 and 2003, 2 of them were the only ones left. I mean only 2 of them. There are no more northern white rhinos on the planet. No wonder the last of their kind are now protected better than the head of any state. No, seriously, armed guards protect the rhinos 24/7, ready to repel an attack at any moment. The only thing missing is an armored vehicle and air support. Hold on. I don't know if the female rhinos realize that they're the last of their kind on Earth, but it seems like they got used to the guards. Of course, we wouldn't be comfortable being so close to people with guns, but on the other hand, sometimes it seems to be the only chance to save endangered species from fighting poaching in South Africa. There's even something like a rapid response squad that includes veterans with real combat skills, who do everything they can to help the animals. You do not want to mess with them. But, unfortunately, there are times when machine gun experience and flashpoints training and awareness raising are useless. The last male northern white rhino, called Sudan, died in 2018. Despite all the attempts to prolong his life, the reason was old age. There's simply no cure for it. Sudan was 45 years old. Wait a minute, this means there are only 2 female rhinos from the entire subspecies left on the planet. Maybe there is something I don't understand about mating, but I always thought it took a male. How can this be any different? It turns out it can be a type of sexual reproduction when female cells develop independently. It's called parthenogenesis, and you can find it not only in somewhat simple animals like lizards or termites. In 2017, a zebra shark named Leonie laid several eggs from which 3 baby sharks hatched, but at the time, the female had no contact with males for more than 3 years. And this was the first recorded case of parthenogenesis and sharks while Leone was still in contact with males at some point. An 11-year-old reticulated python, Thelma, has never made it. Imagine your cat, which never left the apartment, would suddenly give birth to kittens. You'd be just as surprised as the scientists. Thelma gave birth to 6 small female snakes, and DNA tests show she is the only parent. Moreover, it's still not clear why the snake suddenly decided to reproduce on her own. We guess she decided no one would help her with that anyway. Unfortunately, this trick will not work with rhinos, as mammals do not reproduce through parthenogenesis even if they want to. So how are scientists going to restore the endangered subspecies that cannot bear babies due to a disorder? You could probably give up and focus on endangered animals that can still be saved at this stage. If not for science, yes, there are no males of northern white rhinos left in the wild anymore, but scientists have preserved their genetic material, and then everything is well, relatively. Simple genetic material from males plus material from remaining females, in vitro fertilization, embryo creation, storing them in liquid nitrogen, and surrogates, boom! We get baby rhinos. Future northern white rhinos are expected to be born with the help of southern rhino species. Well, we're not there just yet, but by April 2021, 9 embryos had been created, and then we thought just how many species disappeared during the existence of mankind. If we figured out how to save them earlier, everything would be completely different. Maybe the dodos would not go extinct, and mammoths would be roaming the earth again. Though, when did people first start thinking about nature conservation? Anyway, for a long time, our ancestors did not care at all about what was happening around them. They could always die from hunger, cold, disease, and predators. Don't forget cataclysmic wars. In such conditions, one could hardly think of sparing this particular deer. So just because few of them are left, you either killed and ate it, or spared it and died. It's that simple. Though it seems the first time they thought about nature conservation was in 1662. Back then, the English writer John Evelyn presented his book Silva, describing the importance of forest conservation. Limiting deforestation and restoring lost trees, well, the same ideas as today, the first law on the protection of animals was adopted. Even before that, in 1635, though it concerned domestic animals and banned various actions no one would even think of doing. Today, things like plowing by the tail of a horse and plucking wool from sheep instead of shearing. Though for humanity this was already a big step forward, it's a shame we started preserving endangered species when it was too late, since science today is much cooler than it used to be in the 17th century. Maybe we can do something about it. Can we bring back species that have already disappeared, in theory? In 2003, scientists even managed to bring the Iberian ibex, which had become extinct 3 years earlier, to life. For 10 minutes, the cub died shortly after birth due to a lung defect, but this does not mean that all experiments will end the same way. Cloning has become much less risky today, and it might even be possible to bring it back to life. We don't know mammoths or the furry ancestors of modern rhinos. All you need to do is restore the ancient DNA. It must be a piece of cake. Even if scientists could do this, the ancient animal would not feel very comfortable. In the modern world, the extinction of the woolly rhinos was probably caused by climate change, and today you can hardly call it suitable for them. And even if the woolly rhinoceros somehow adapt, they will probably become a target for poachers. Do you think no one will dare take the horn of a unique animal if you place it in a restricted area? If only poachers once got into the French Thory Zoo to cut off a horn from a rhino and security failed to stop them, the animal was killed. It's all for the money. Remember the robbery of the museum in Ireland. Those 4 rhino heads are worth $650,000 on the black market. Sometimes prices reach up to $65,000 per 2 pounds, which is just a gigantic amount of money. For comparison, ivory costs approximately $2,300 per 2 pounds. It's used to make talismans, souvenir figurines, and decorative items, but rhino horns are a different story. In some countries, a rhino horn is considered a status symbol and a cure for all diseases. But, of course, the horn of a wild rhino is believed to be more effective, and clients do not care that animals die because horns are that useful. Well, yes, for rhinos. That's why they grow on their heads. But there is still a way to save these animals from removing the rhino's horns under anesthesia. This is always a hard decision to make. Perhaps you cannot call it humane, but for now, this is the only way to protect animals from poachers. It's also a bit reassuring that scientists know exactly how to remove the horn without consequences. So that the rhinos can live for many more years, an encounter with horn hunters means certain death for the animal. Sometimes, rhinos are better off without their horns. A third of the females are killed when they fight each other, and not because they're pushing too hard. It's a hard process, but some animals are dying out because of their horns. Moreover, rhinos are not the first species to suffer from this. About 7,700 years ago, Irish elk disappeared from the face of the earth. These animals looked like deer, but I'm not kidding, enormous antlers spanning 12 feet and weighing 88 pounds with a giant. The elk itself stood at 6.5 feet tall to handle such colossal weight. At least for a while, until evolution intervened, more forests appeared on Earth, and it was simply impossible to walk into them with antlers that huge. So that's all about the video. Stay tuned and subscribe to our channel for more uploads like this.